Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome back to another episode of Just Trains. Today I've got some really cracking engines to show you, so let's get started. So if we're being completely honest with ourselves, brown, where vehicles are concerned, is a horrendous colour. I, for one, would never be seen dead driving a brown car, and I hope you wouldn't either. Frankly, the last time brown was in fashion was during the 1970s, when everything seemed to be brown, including people's living rooms. Look at that. Yeah, maybe you just had to be around at that time to get it, but I'm glad I ain't in the 1970s, I've got to tell you that. Having said that, when it comes to steam locomotives, look at this, brown just seems to work. Now that is just my opinion, I love brown steam locomotives and all sorts of locomotive really, not just steam. But that might not be true for everybody, so one of the things I'm going to try and find out during today's video is whether most people like brown locos, so do be sure to comment down below and let me know whether you do or not. Today though, I'm going to showcase some of my favourite brown locomotives. Most of them are steam, but I've got one diesel in there for you, so if you like diesels, you should have a good day today. Well, not really, because there's only one. But let's go over to the turntable, let's get some brown locos running. As you can see, I've set up quite a few brown locos already. I was expecting to have a challenge. I wasn't even sure whether I had 6 brown locos to show. Turns out I have way more than that. So I've actually been able to cherry pick some of the absolute best ones. What's coming up first? Well, it is going to be this one. This is the Rapido J70. These are brown kind of by necessity. Obviously, they're made of wood. They weren't just painted brown, although maybe the wood was painted brown. I don't really know. But yeah, I thought this would be a nice one to do because it's a little bit different, isn't it? So the J70, very interesting. What's she going to be hauling? Well, I think during the review of this loco, I had her hauling wagons. So today I've set up in a siding all the way over on the inside line, 3 LNER coaches. I don't actually have any proper tramway coaches for this loco. I wish somebody made some actually. But either way, I will tell you all about the J70s while I get this loco onto the turntable and then of course over to her coaches. So the J70 dates back to 1903 when a class of 12 were constructed by James Holden for the Great Eastern Railway. In those days they were classified as the GERC 53, not the J70 of course, and their appearance was very different to more conventional 060 designs of tank engine as a result of those wooden bodies and the skirting which covered the wheels, cylinders and valve gear, some variations at least. On the subject of the valve gear, they were the first GER locomotives to use the Walschaerts valve gear, and they also had 2 cylinders, which were considered outside cylinders, although they were largely hidden from view. They were well known for operating on the Wisbech and Upwell tramway from the 1930s onwards, and the basis of course was used for the Thomas and Friends character Toby. Nonetheless, all 12 examples were withdrawn and scrapped between 1944 and 1955 with no survivors, which is a great shame. Okay, steadily does it. This loco has a coreless motor and I'm now running it on my feedback controller, which worries me very slightly. It's another reason I don't think manufacturers should use coreless motors really. But hopefully it will be fine. It's now coupled to the coaches, or hopefully it is. So let's go real nice and gentle. This is always a bit of a problem because these LNER coaches do like to derail on some of my points, which is a bit frustrating but entertaining to watch, I guess. So maybe you're in for a treat, maybe we'll get lucky or unlucky, depending on how you consider things. Here we go though, let's see. It's going to derail though, let's be real, let's see. I think one coach has gotten away with it. Ooh, bit bumpy. Yes, we'll see. Well, maybe that was okay, maybe slow and steady, won the race that time. Yeah, well, it seems to be running alright, and it looks good too, of course. Yeah, it looks nice with the LNER coaches. Very strange loco, of course, but pretty good. But pretty cool, and got to be included in a session about brown engines. I've also had loads of comments about this loco saying that people confuse it for a brake van and that sort of thing, or maybe a box van or something. So yes, if you thought that, you're not alone. I did get a lot of messages saying that, and I guess I can see it. Yeah, obviously up close it doesn't look like one, but I just thought that was quite funny. So that's it, the J70. Still can't believe the level of detail on this loco. Every time I look at it, I seem to pick out something new. Yeah, it's just amazing. Anyway, more on that later. I will be running that once I have introduced the other two locos for the first half of the session. For now though, there is a lovely close-up of this loco, man. Ah, I love it. Fantastic. Really, really good. Okay, well, let's get on to some more conventional locos then. We've had a steamer, let's try a diesel. So we're back at the turntable for this one. I wonder which one it could be. Well, obviously, as a diesel, yeah, it is this one. This is the Homebeat Ruston Shunter, yet another classic example of brown looking fantastic on a locomotive. And this one's not even a steam loco, so yeah, go figure. I also love the huge decorative plates on this loco as well. I think they look fantastic. So as you can tell, she's already coupled to one wagon, and I'm always going to run her with that wagon, I think, because they just run so much better. The wagons have pickups in, of course. However, I have set up some wagons for her all the way over near Toy Town Station with a pillbox brake van on the end, which I think should look nice. So I will tell you all about the Rustons while I get her coupled to her train. So the 48DS were produced for many, many years by the Ruston and Hornsby Company, also known as R&S. They were a London company founded in 1918, and like other manufacturers of industrial equipment, R&S also produced cars, steam locomotives, engines, and even steam-powered diggers. They were best known for their diesel locomotives though, and this example of 48DS being produced in 1948 was purchased by the Longbourn Glenlivet Distillery. The 48DS was a development of their first standard gauge locomotive, and the type did change and evolve over time so that the wheels, cabs, engines and lots of other details vary between different examples. Right, I'm going to attempt a steady coupling. I should say I can't actually see the wagons from where I'm sitting. I can just about see the roof of the loco, so do give me a shout when we've done it. Hopefully I'll be able to hear, although I bet I won't because it's so slow. Look at this though. Oh, I did hear it, I did. Alright. Wow, those Rustons are so controllable. Alright, well, rather than get up and see if it did couple, let's just pull forwards and see if the wagons come with the loco or not. Ah, I think they are. Look at that. Alright, well, I didn't actually see that from the camera's perspective, so hopefully that looked alright. Okay, a bit faster than Ruston. Let's go full speed, which I think is about, what, 10 miles per hour, something like that with a Ruston. Yeah, it's alright. There we go. Great locos. Yeah, these models run well. There's nothing more to say, especially with the pickup wagon fitted. Just so reliable, as you can see. So slow as well, which normally isn't a good thing. But with these it is, because the prototype was. And we're missing the brake van. Ruston, back you go please. Let's go find it. At that speed, it's got a long way to go. Tut tut. There it is. Well, that's not on, is it? Well, the Ruston's gone full pelt. It's nearly here, actually. There we go. I'm not at the controller, so it's just going to bust into it. Oops. The guard's just fallen over, spilt his tea, scalded his finger. Alright, so the Ruston's going backwards now. Fair enough, at least none of the wagons can get left behind. Such a lovely loco, though. I don't mind, you know. Things go wrong with the Ruston's train, that's fine. That means I can run it a bit more, you know, go backwards, do a bit of shunting almost. No complaints from me. Nice little train actually. I'll have to say how much I love private owner wagons, especially smaller ones. I tried to pick mini ones for the Ruston. There it goes. Well, better late than never, I suppose. It's more than my life's worth to pull up without a brake van. Very dangerous, of course, and I can tell it's still not coupled properly. I'll have to fix that before I start running again next. But for the time being, there we go. Bit of a rough stop there, actually. But there we have it. Close up on the Ruston, and it is a beauty. I really think so. Hopefully, if your answer at the start of the video was no, you don't like brown locos. Hopefully, and I don't want to try and brainwash anybody, but hopefully you're starting to feel a little bit more inclined towards brown locos as I am. If not, let's have another loco. Let's go back to the turntable and pick off another one, shall I? Okay, so 3 more locos to choose from on the turntable. The next loco is this one. This is the E4 locomotive. Now, you can't do a video about Brown steam locomotives without talking about the London and Brighton. They just loved brown liveries. Some individuals at the LBSC, not going to name any names, tried to say that some of their locos were green, but in my opinion, they were very much brown. Stroudly. Anyway, this one is definitely brown, or umber is the proper name for the livery, which I'll talk about in just a second. It's a 062 locomotive, which is a very handsome wheel configuration, I think. And as a well-known passenger locomotive, I've set up some passenger coaches, some lovely Homebeat Southern coaches, including a Bachmann bullied coach, just for good measure. Not strictly prototypical, of course, they wouldn't have been Southern green, I don't think, in the LBSC days, but it's regionally roughly correct anyway. So I'll go and couple to the train. While we do, let's have a little history on the E4. So these beautiful E4 locomotives were introduced to the LBSCR in 1897 to the design of Robert Billington. At the time, the E4 was considered an extremely powerful locomotive, and they successfully hauled both passenger and freight trains for many, many years to come. In 1923, the class became part of the Southern Railway, where they were slightly modified to have cylinders of a smaller diameter, and I assume the boilers would have had to have been updated or changed to match. Amazingly, most of the class survived right up until the end of steam, which is quite astonishing really, isn't it, given their age, when of course diesels eventually took over. The E4s were withdrawn between 1958 and 1964, but luckily one was preserved, of 75 built. Yeah, very pleased with how that turned out. All the locos have behaved themselves well today. No derailments, actually. It's not that they've happened and I've just cut them out, really. No derailments. It's crazy. Don't think that's ever happened. As you can see, the loco has slowed down. Let's catch up with the loco. Yeah, slowed down on the incline slightly there. It is quite a heavy loco, that one, actually, so quite a lot of power is needed just to move the loco on its own, but it's done it, as you can see. And I must say, I don't know whether it's very prototypical, but that little bullied coach shoved in the middle there looks all right to me. I like that. Very, very elegant loco, isn't it, that one? And Bachmann have made quite a few different variations of those E4 tanks, but my favourite's always been the Umber, although the Southern version looks nice, that must be said. Okay, so that is the 3 locos for the first half. I think that's quite a good variety so far, isn't it? So let's get these going together. There goes Queen Anne. Oops. Ah, dear. Sat brake van causing trouble again. Look. After I've just said that about the derailments as well. Yeah, it's a very bad way to tempt fate, is that. Sorry, Ruston. There we go. Goodness sake, honestly, it's just typical, isn't it, that? And then the J70, which has actually behaved perfectly so far, which is good. All right, let's have a run with these 3 then. You know I'm going to be hard pushed as well to choose a favourite so far from these, because I'm a big fan of all of them. In fact, I'm actually leaning towards the Ruston slightly, which is unheard of for me, because I love steam, but it's a lovely one. The E4's another contender. And then you've got the J70, which is what I consider one of the best detailed tank engines I've ever seen. It's a real conundrum, that. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. Yeah, which is the best so far. Maybe the best and the favourite doesn't have to be the same. I would say the J70 is probably the best. Favourite? Maybe not. I'm not sure. Alright, nice. So there we go, that is Brown Engines Part 1. I'm going to pop the first lot of locos into a siding, perhaps. Yeah, I've not done that for a while. I will queue up the next set of Brown locos, 3 more to show you. I think we'll go with a tender engine up next, because I've not done one of those so far. So stay in your seats, audience, and I will be right back. So here comes loco number 4 then, probably not, well it is brown, I mean clearly it's brown, it's known as khaki though, this livery, and it's the Great Western City class of course, a lovely 440 tender engine, first tender engine. So the City class was also known as the Great Western 3700 class, that was the other name for them, and they were built between 1902 and 1909 to the design of George Jackson Churchward, a famous name from the Great Western of course. Characterised by their Belpaire fireboxes and no domes, obviously that made them very recognisable, and after their production the class was improved and modified for several years, and eventually they were fitted with superheaters and several other modifications, so it's another design that changed an awful lot over time. One member of the class was reportedly the first to exceed 100 miles per hour, the first steam locomotive, that is City of Truro of course, which still exists today. That is the only member of the class to be preserved, although the 100 miles per hour record thing was never officially measured, so it doesn't sort of get reported in the history books. There we go, and I've done a bit of a mix up with the coaches with these as well, because I quite like that with that stray bully coach earlier. So we've got a mixture of Great Western Clerestory and some Pullmans. Yeah, it's quite nice. Alright, so there you have it, the City class. Not the most common livery, of course, for the City class, that being the classic Great Western Green, I suppose. That's the livery they're most famous for, but no, the khaki is an interesting variation, isn't it? Very much so. So, hope you like seeing that one. I will run that again in just a second. First of all, though, let's bring in the next loco. Next up then, we have another classic brown livery. This one is not khaki, this is full-on brown, umber, whatever you want to call it, from the LBSC again. So this is the H1, it's an Atlantic, one of my absolute favourite wheel configurations, love these. And the H1 was first produced actually in 1905, so it's another quite an early one, this time to the design of D.E. Marsh. A total of only 5 of these were built for express passenger work, and these Atlantics and others like them proved to be some of the first larger passenger locomotives of the 20th century, and they were said to be very successful too, and also pretty luxurious for the time. You can tell that just looking at them, really, can't you? Now, even though the superior Marsh H2 was introduced in 1911, the H1 still managed to survive well into the grouping era until 1944 actually, when the first withdrawals took place. By this time, larger, more powerful, more efficient designs were taking on the bulk of the work, and by 1951 every member of the H1 class had been withdrawn and scrapped with no survivors. This example, La France, was the only member of the class to carry a name initially, as it was used to pull the train for the then French president during his second visit, which is quite an interesting story, isn't it? So these really are just wonderful models from Bachmann. I would say, in fact, their Atlantics are some of their best tender engines ever. They're just wonderful, very expensive, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're necessarily worth whatever ridiculous price they are these days, but you do get a fantastic model regardless of the price. Wonderful, wonderful models. The H1, there you go. Right. Okay, let's have a close-up of that then. So yeah, as you can see, LBSC again, the classic company for brown liveries. And again, you know, doesn't this look amazing in brown? The brown has to be my favourite livery for these Atlantics, I think. Really, really lovely. So there we go. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous, that one. Can't say enough about it. Love them, love them. And the C1's even better, I should say. So check out that video if you haven't seen that one. Anyway, one more loco still to come then. Let's get back to tank engines, shall we? Finish off with one of those. So we'll finish off with a bit of a bang then with a tank engine, lovely classic brown tank engine, an 040 of course, first one of the day, the only one of the day. This is known as the LSWR B4, and it was a very early class of 040 dock tank. Designed by William Adams, the same Adams that designed the Adams radial tank that I have reviewed, check that out if you want to. The B4 was first introduced way back in 1891 when the first 10 were produced for shunting work in locations with tight radius curves, such as the Southampton docks for example. Their short wheelbase made them perfect for this really. Several years later, in 1908, Dougal Drummond designed and built 5 040 tank engines that were so similar in design that they were just merged into the same class, making effectively a total of 25 built. Many were given names rather than numbers, which was a bit of a tradition at the old Southampton docks, which is why so many of these had names, including this example, of course, which had the name Ken, I think it was. Ken was also the first to be withdrawn and scrapped in 1948, yet some members of the class did survive in service until 1963, by which time some had been sold and others had been scrapped. Only 2 remain in preservation now though, number 96 and number 102. Ken isn't one of them. There you have it then, that is 6 of my favourite brown locomotives. Hope you like those. Let's get them all going then, well the last 3 at least. So the City class, got to be careful with that one because it goes a bit quick. And then the Atlantic, which runs at a bit of a more reasonable speed. So there we go, let's have one last run with those. There's a shadowy shot behind the bookcase there. So if YouTube lets me, I will put up a poll on the community tab on my channel so that you guys can vote which loco you like the best. If it won't let me, just let me know down in the comments, there just won't be a post there. But either way, do make it known which you like the best. It's just so difficult. I'll have a think and I'll let you know in a second when I've made an informed decision. I think, all things considered, I would choose as my favourite, not necessarily the best, but as my favourite, probably the H1, which has just been inconveniently covered up there. But yeah, it's not by much, it's very difficult to say, but I think that would be my pick of the locos in today's video. But yeah, like I say, I'm not sure I could predict which you guys would choose overall. That city is lovely though, isn't it, don't you think? Real lovely model that. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, I've made my decision. I think the H1 wins, only just. So there you have it then folks, brown locomotives. I really enjoyed that actually, it was very interesting. So, you've got a lot to let me know down in the comments today, but are there any other interesting colours that you'd like to see represented? I mean, there aren't very many. I think I've done videos on most of the key ones, you know, blue, maroon, green, that kind of thing. If there are any others, I think grey is one that I do need to try. I think I would have to include some diesels if I did grey, because I've only got probably 5 steamers. And of course it's a bit of a cop-out using diesels because a lot of them are grey. But we'll see, maybe it would be fun to try that. Either way, I hope you enjoyed seeing the brown engines. I certainly did. Like I say, I didn't realise I had quite as many as I do. But I'm personally quite glad because I do like brown locos. I know some people don't though, and that's fine. I can understand it because, like I say, looking at some of the 70s decor, yeah, it's very understandable that some people wouldn't like brown things. But that's fine, that is life, everybody's different. So thanks for watching folks, thank you for your time, hope you enjoyed it as I say, and I'll see you very soon on the next one. Alright, cheers everybody, look after yourselves.